Hey, I'm Leslie and I love a good prank video, okay? Fill my book bag with hot Cheetos, post a note in my car, jump out of the closet and scare the mess out of me. I'm here for it. But sometimes pranks just go too far. You know the ones, right? Where they spray paint their friend's fancy car just for laughs. I guess that's funny. Or if they dump a smelly fish tank on someone's bed, ruin their sheets and ruin their mattress. Or like when someone gets pushed into a pool unexpectedly with their socks, their shoes, their phone in their pocket. And y'all, if my hair was freshly done, no, best believe this is not how it's gonna go down, okay? If it were me, I would instantly be plotting my revenge. Some pranks just go too far. And let's be honest, even if I got you back for what you did to me, I would still not look at you the same. Like, I don't know if we're really friends, right? Like after some pranks, I can't help but wonder, how could they ever forgive their friend and move on from something like that? And sometimes the things that make us angry or make us hold a grudge towards someone is a lot worse than just a bad prank. For example, maybe your issue started on a Friday night when no one in your group made any plans, so you stayed home, and while you kicked back with some hot Cheetos and you scrolled through your feed, you saw that some of your friends were hanging out without you. Thanks for the invite. And even though you publicly shrugged it off, you're like, it's cool, I just want to stay home anyway, it honestly still bothers you today. And then they ruined your whole Friday night. Everyone was invited except you. And now you're reevaluating your so-called friends. Or maybe your resentment or anger is the result of a direct hit on your character. Maybe one of your supposed friends talked bad about you to one of your least favorite people at school, and now you're bitter against them, even if they are clueless about your feelings, right? He said something that ruined your reputation and you are ticked off. You thought he had your back, but he actually just exposed you. But bitterness isn't just reserved for friends. Sometimes family can inspire all kinds of bad vibes too. Like maybe your parents said no to you going to the most epic party of the year. Or maybe it was your sibling who borrowed your favorite shirt without permission and spilled salsa on it. Or maybe you're the oldest one in your family and you're tired of being the free Uber driver for all your younger siblings. Like if we're honest, something about that little bit of bitterness starts to feel sweet. Sometimes we just want to hold on to any annoyance or bitterness or frustration. Can you relate? Like, what do you do with the worst stuff that happens to you? Especially when you can't stop thinking about it, especially when it's gripping you over and over on replay in your mind. When we're young, like when we're a little kid, it typically goes something like this, right? Someone does something wrong, an adult says, say you're sorry, the other person says a half-hearted, I'm sorry, and then we all move on, right? And even as a kid, you're a little bit frustrated and it can be hard to quickly switch from being hurt to accepting an apology and forgiving the person who hurt you. But I would say it's just as hard, if not harder, as we get older. Okay, so you probably won't be surprised to hear that bitterness is not a new concept. It actually goes way back, like Bible times back. And as long as there have been people, there has been bitterness. The Bible actually addresses this very issue. About 2,000 years ago, the church was just getting started. Like, it was literally just getting started. And one of the main leaders of the early church was Paul. At that time, Paul was a massive, popular public figure in Christian culture. But there's a catch. Being popular and liked by Christians meant that he was hated by people who weren't Christians. Meaning, basically, he was such a high-profile believer, he was such a big target that people who were not fans of Jesus were not fans of him. What kind of target? Well, here are just a few ways that he suffered publicly for serving Christ, okay? He was put into prison over and over. He was beaten. He was flogged, which basically means beaten with a whip or a bat. He was stoned, which basically means beaten with literal high-speed rocks. Y'all, this is the kind of fame you don't want. And so here's a guy, and he's trying to help people. He's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to serve God, and how is he treated? Not great, okay? If anyone deserved to be bitter, it was this guy. But what Paul says about bitterness is actually the opposite of what we would expect. In one of his letters to the church in Thessalonica, Paul encouraged the new Christians there and challenged them to live differently than the world around them. One verse in particular takes an interesting approach to the idea of bitterness and unforgiveness. He says this: make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong. And maybe you're thinking, whoa, I wasn't talking about revenge. Like, that's a strong word. I'm not really into revenge, right? I'm not sitting in a dark room plotting to get back at whoever wronged me. But maybe Paul isn't just talking about revenge. He's talking about not continuing the cycle of wrong. So maybe paying back wrong for wrong could sound like, hey, he never apologized, so I can't forgive him. That's a cycle of wrong. Or they don't deserve my forgiveness or my friendship after what they did. That's a cycle of wrong. Or they didn't earn my forgiveness and they haven't paid for what they did. Or she hurt me, so I'm gonna hurt her. She's canceled. See, Paul had some legit reasons to be upset. His frustrations were even more frustrating than a salsa stain or being left at home on a Friday night while the rest of your friends were hanging out. People were literally treating him so badly just for how he was living his life. Like, I would classify beatings for good behavior, as overreacting. But even though Paul had suffered for an unfair reason, he didn't believe that his mistreatment required revenge. Instead, he writes this: but always strive to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. Okay, so hold up. Are you saying not only are we supposed to keep ourselves from paying someone back wrong for wrong, we're also supposed to be nice? That doesn't exactly seem fair. And you know what? It isn't. That's the thing. Jesus changes everything, especially how we see forgiveness. When Jesus entered the scene and helped us understand what forgiveness actually meant, it changed everything. But Paul understood a fundamental truth about bitterness and holding on to hurt. And that truth is this: the more you hold on to a grudge, the more it holds on to you. And I want to show you a little bit of a visual picture of how this works. Hang on one second. Oh, this table is so heavy. Okay, I want to show you what I'm talking about. Basically, life without holding a grudge is kind of like being able to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh, this looks so bad. Can you see this? So I'm gonna make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh, this looks so gross. Okay, so this is me living life, not holding any grudges, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's beautiful, it's delicious. Get some of this jelly. What is this? Jelly or jam? Are you a jelly or jam person? That's what I wanna know. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, here's life. Life without holding a grudge, without holding bitterness. Easy peasy, peanut butter and jelly sandwich complete. But when you hold a grudge, it's like adding a weight. Hang on one second. This is like maybe 10 pounds, 2 pounds, 50 pounds? Guys, I'm bad at math. I'm bad at numbers, okay? But when you try to live life, it's like trying to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with all of this weight holding you down. Oh no, I still gotta pick up the other weight off the floor. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna try this peanut butter and jelly sandwich again. So this time, holding grudges. Okay, we gotta get the bread out. Got the bread. Oh, my arms are so tired already. Can I just, okay, bread out of the way. It's like everything in your life becomes a workout. When you hold a grudge, when you carry it with you, everything becomes that much harder. Oh, it's going so bad. When you replay the offense in your mind over, no. It's like holding a grudge. And it just makes your life a lot harder. Guys, this isn't going so well. It's like you complain to others in hopes of getting other people to turn against the other people. Life that used to be encumbered is literally held down by weights. The whole point is that when you hold a grudge, it harms you. Your day-to-day life will get trapped and weighed down by being consumed by unforgiveness. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay, so when I was in high school, my group leader told me that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. And to be honest, I didn't quite understand it at the time, but over the years, I kept coming back to that. Unforgiveness and bitterness can be a nasty cycle that we can get stuck in if we're not careful. And the more we dwell on and focus on the wrong and how angry we are, the more poisonous it is to me. You see, I grew up thinking that forgiveness was for the other person, the one who wronged me. But really, forgiveness is for me. Forgiveness is a conscious decision to let go of someone's debt to us and not expect them to make up for it. Yeah, they owe you, but you get to decide that you're not gonna wait until they pay you, right? It's your way of letting go of revenge and negative emotion, not for the other person's benefit, but for you. Because I mean, honestly, and I know this isn't what you really wanna hear, but rarely does the offender, like the person who was wrong, benefit from forgiveness. We benefit. When we start letting go of the hurt, the bitterness, the resentment, they no longer get to control how we feel, and our feelings no longer control us. In fact, it takes the power away from them when we choose to remove the poison from ourselves. And side note, let's be clear, okay? We are by no means saying that people who treat you unfairly, abuse you, take advantage of you, that they get a pass to keep doing that. No, if you're experiencing any kind of abuse, okay, this is your encouragement and your permission to have a conversation with a trusted adult. You deserve to have the help and support that you need. Jesus set the example for forgiveness when he died on the cross. He showed us how to be selfless and how to forgive because he knew that it was gonna be hard. He knew that we would wanna go back and pay back wrong for wrong and to hold on to our bitterness and our hurt. But Jesus wants us to forgive for our sake, not just for other people. Forgiving the people who hurt us is in our best interest, and Jesus wants us to live a healthy and whole life. And to clarify, here are a few things that forgiveness is not. It's not that you aren't hurt, because sometimes you really are. And it's not that the other person shouldn't experience consequences. Sometimes they totally should. And it's not for the other person's benefit. And it doesn't mean that the relationship stays the same. It sometimes means you still break up, right? It doesn't mean that you can't set boundaries. It doesn't mean that you condone or excuse the offense. It doesn't mean that you still date them. Again, sometimes you break up. And it doesn't mean that you stay quiet if someone is hurting you or other people. None of those things is what forgiveness is. And just remember, like speaking up, if someone is hurting you, is not tattling or getting someone punished. It's loving yourself and telling a trusted adult to keep you and others safe. Speaking up is being honest for the good of all. Forgiveness isn't a magic band-aid that makes everything better. And it never makes what someone else did right or okay, but it is the first step towards healing and a better tomorrow. So if you're wondering, if you're still holding on to some bitterness or resentment, here's a handy little quiz to help you just kind of check in with yourself, okay? I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. 1, do you have arguments with someone in your head? You know, those internal conversations where you basically are telling them what's up. Or 2, are you giving a close friend or family member the silent treatment? 3, do you consistently subtweet comments in person or online to someone? Or 4, do you leave passive-aggressive comments on someone else's Instagram pics or screenshot them and send them to other friends and gripe about them in another separate text thread? Or maybe here's the last question. Do you think about ways you can pay someone back for what they did to you 6 months ago? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you may be experiencing some bitterness. But have you ever thought about this? Holding onto resentment and being bitter can be bad for you. Because here's the thing, you can technically be right and you can technically have the truth on your side, but it doesn't change the fact that you're stuck in negativity and that negative place can take a toll on you. Now, I realize that many of you are stuck in some real pain. Some of you have been hurt deeply by people you care about. And that makes things complicated, right? Because your hurt is justified and so is your anger. But I can promise you this, the only way you can find freedom from the anger and resentment is to forgive the other person, even if they don't deserve it, even if they're not sorry, maybe especially even if they're not sorry. Because what forgiveness really means is to give before someone else says they're sorry or deserves anything, to give it before. And I realized that that is asking a lot. It won't happen overnight, but here are 3 steps you can take to get freedom from your bitterness and unforgiveness. First, acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to be hurt, upset, angry, sad, disappointed. It's actually normal to feel all of those things. And so pretending like you don't have those feelings doesn't actually make them go away. So it's okay to acknowledge your feelings. Okay, and the second step, don't let your feelings control you. Yes, feel your feelings, but they shouldn't be in control of you. You can give up your right to get revenge, even when anger says, I deserve to get them back. You can work to let go of your feelings, your anger, your frustration, instead of being held hostage by them. And finally, repeat. Y'all, it's just a process. There's no overnight success to escaping bitterness. It's a process. It takes time. So keep taking one step after another, after another. Hey, I get it, okay? Forgiving someone feels like the other person just won something, like they're getting something from you. But as you head out, I want you to think about this. What are you getting from holding on to your bitterness? If you could stop replaying that offense over and over in your mind, how much time would you get back? If you could let go of your need to be right, how much less stress would you feel? If you could let go of your need to make things fair, what else could you be doing? And I know it sounds counterintuitive, and I know it sounds unreasonable. I know it sounds unfair, and most of all, I know it probably sounds impossible. But even though this feels like giving up power on your end, letting go actually empowers you. It allows you to finally be released from the poisonous resentment that eats away at you and robs you of joy and life. So when we let go, when we're kind to those who have mistreated us, we actually are taking the first step from hurt toward healing. Because forgiving someone is the best thing you can do with the worst stuff that happens to you.